Hi folks, I'm Mr. McBrien. This is TJ20, Turing 2.5, Fonts and Backgrounds. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we did yesterday. We covered inputs and variables, and that's all fine. Today what I want to talk about is something that really we kind of neglect to a certain extent because at the beginning of coding, because we're focused on getting our programs working. And really that's about these things called fonts. Okay, so some of the references that may be helpful while you're working through the examples today. First off, the Turing Online Help is somewhat useful. You can search on font and background to get some information there. There are also a couple of good topics from the compsci.ca website, and so I'd encourage you to have a look at the examples here, and I'll give you some search terms that you can use to retrieve those things throughout the slides. Okay, so to begin with, anyone who has thought much about marketing realizes that packaging is really very important. We're going to be communicating with words and text for a long time inside programs that we design. We're not really getting away from that. And the way that we present this text, well, it's important. It contributes to the user experience. The user's eyes are on these things throughout the entire time they're using the program. And there is no way to avoid the fact that the user's impression of our work will be affected by the look and feel of these communications. We're aware of this when we're doing things like building PowerPoint slides. It's equally important in programming. Okay, so let's start with the idea of font. The default font for Turing is the ancient Courier font that essentially looks like a typewriter, an old manual typewriter has created it. And I'd encourage you to think for a second about what that font communicates to you. Think about what kind of words it brings out. Usually you'll want to, in your final version of your programs, you'll want to choose a font that's simple, it's modern, and it's clean. And I wouldn't say that Courier really is any of those things. So that's something to think about. There may be exceptions to this. There may be times when you don't want something quite as simple. There may be times when you don't want something modern, right? But it's worth giving a bit of thought to this idea. Now, as far as choosing fonts goes, the online help inside Turing is all right. I really find that the web-based system is more descriptive. So try going into Google and searching on setting the font in Turing, and I think you'll find some useful links from there. Or you can go ahead and choose the hyperlink from the beginning of my slides. Now here's the online reference here and some of the things that you can search on. You can go ahead and read those things. I think especially they may be useful once you've had a look at some of the things that I'm going to show you in a few seconds. Okay, so step by step. What we want to do when we're setting the font is first off declare a variable that is our font identification. So we'll declare a variable that as an integer, and then we're going to set a value for that variable. And then as soon as we've done this, anytime we want to use that font in our communication to the user, we're going to abandon the put command that we just learned, and we're going to use font.draw instead. Okay, so here's a look at what it looks like. So I've modified my Hello World program. I've declared a variable called font ID. And then I've set font ID equal to Arial 22 point. And then from there, I can now communicate with Hello World. I can give a location for my communication on the screen, because now we're giving a more graphical approach. Tell Turing what font I want to use and tell what color. And so I'm drawing the letters much the way I might draw any other object like a square or circle on the screen. So I can go ahead and fire that up, and I can have nice juicy black letters on the screen instead of and closer to the center of the screen instead of my default communication in the top left. So feel free to go ahead and modify your program to make the communication on the screen. Use some other font. You can get the list of fonts pretty easily. Change up your font, change the location, change the color so that you have a bit more control over how your programs will look. So try several different styles. It'll only take a few seconds to mess around with those things. You can even go through and put them in various places on the screen if you want to. If you want to see what each one does in order, you can use a delay command. You can clear the screen if you want to put them to have one at a time be on the screen, or if you don't put the clear screen command in, you can simply have them all overlay in various places on the screen. So the delay command again is just delay and the number of milliseconds you want it to delay. And the clear screen command is just CLS. Okay, so yes, go ahead and finish up that activity before you move on to the background activity, please. All right, background-wise, you may think that white is the perfect color for your background. If you do, that's absolutely fine. We're all accustomed to looking at white pieces of paper, and so it's not a terrible choice. But there are lots more colors available to us, and you may want to choose from some of those. They may give a bit more organic feel to your programs if you want that. Off-whites and grays, for example. You can give that some thought for sure. Setting the background color in Turing is really very easy. You just use the color back command and put the color that you want in brackets, either in terms of a word or in terms of a number for the background color. Now, what you will find is that the color back command is for a single set of text. If you want your entire window to have that background right from the beginning, you need to clear the screen to have this work. Now, it's probably easiest for me to just demonstrate this. So I modified a program I found online, and I left the Courier font in place for this approach. Now, you could still use the draw command if you wanted to. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Color back program. I have set up something where for now this user input isn't that important. It'll become important in a second. Set screen graphics isn't actually critical in this case either. The most important thing is the color back or color back command, and I can make something gaudy like bright red if I want to. And our familiar put command will put out black Courier letters. And I want to highlight the difference between a put command without these two dots and a put command with these two dots. So let's run this. Okay, so I run it, and you can see that without the two dots, the rest of the line has our background color of bright red. With the two dots, it stops immediately as soon as the letters have been drawn. And I can go ahead, and since there's a get user input command there, I can put in text. And you can see that these text characters that I put in have our bright red colored background. And so I can go ahead and do that. Enter my text, etc. Okay, now in contrast, remember our clear screen command. If I insert my clear screen command after our background color is set, when I run this, our gaudy bright red color is across the entire screen before we start drawing the characters. Okay, hopefully that's reasonably clear. Excuse me. So, that's setting background colors. You should be able to pretty easily modify your Hello World program now to have the background color be something other than white. Be sure to combine that with your newfound skills around fonts. Go ahead and make modifications to your program several times. Change the color, change the font, change the size, change the location of the text, and get a feel for those things. And you'll have a lot more control over your program and how it works. And if you are not using the if you are using the clear screen command, the CLS command, be sure to insert a delay so that you can see the results of your various designs. A couple more notes about some more advanced things. You might be considering what to do to try to get picture backgrounds. You can do this, and in fact, we'll be learning how to use pictures in the upcoming slides. So soon we'll cover that, and you'll be able to overlay things just like we've done here. In some cases, you may find that the background from, for example, user input text is overwriting your pictures. Well, you may want to use the background color to kind of match what you're seeing there. But in any case, you can overlay text on pictures. Okay, so using your font with get commands. I've had a number of students comment that their communication to the user are using a nice, large, interesting font, but the user's inputs back are this horrible courier thing again. And it's not quite as simple to control that font as you might think. So you can't specify directly the font for the user inputs. What you have to do in that case is detect the user inputs, suppress the characters that the user is typing from being displayed on the screen, and then draw these letters using a draw font command. And there's instructions for this online and some sample code that you can use. It doesn't take that much work to master it. And for most of our programs, really the user doesn't type too much text onto the screen. So you won't have to implement that many times. But it is worth noting that the appearance of programs where the user has to type things in improves greatly by matching the font. So it's something to think about. Okay, to summarize, the font and the background are both important to the feel of your program. And final implementations, you should control these things. Changing fonts and backgrounds isn't complicated, but if you want your user input to match that font, you have to do some additional work. For your homework, please go ahead and complete the activities from the slides. Thanks very much.